Hello and welcome to Real Estate Today. My name is Ed Cox and my co-host is Maria Babicki. We're both real estate agents here in Simsbury, and we have a very interesting show for you and a great guest. We're going to talk today a little bit about maintenance around the outside of your house and maybe some preparing for winter. And that'll be the subject, and we have plenty to talk about. Maria, would you like to introduce our guest and get the show started?
Sure. Our guest today is Paul McCartney of Armorseal, a home service business in Simsbury. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for coming. Can you tell us about the services your company offers?
Yes, initially we do driveway sealing, and we also do a lot of gutter work. We would be doing gutter cleaning, gutter repairs, and gutter installation. We make seamless gutters, so they are one piece. We run them out of a machine and we cut them to length. We also do power washing, roof de-icing, and roof cleaning. We do roof cleaning with the power washing, and we also do roof raking, which is basically roof de-icing. And we have a dumpster business to help you get rid of a lot of unwanted things from your house.
Wow, that's great. That's a lot of services. Now, you've been in business since 1976 and you're licensed and insured.
That is correct.
Yeah, that's very important. So, okay, good to know. So,
Before we get started talking about your services, though, we were discussing just before we came on today about some topics, some ideas or some tips that you might give us homeowners on some things that we should be doing, maybe not today, but we should be thinking about before the snow flies. Do you have some good examples?
Sure. As you're walking around your house, it's a good idea to look at what needs to be done for the winter. Imagine it's winter and look around. Simple things like a garden hose that is connected to your faucet. If you turn the water off on your inside faucet, if that garden hose is connected and you still have water in that hose, that can burst a pipe. So that's one thing you can consider. Secondly, if you have an air conditioner, central air conditioning unit, it'd be a good idea to cover that for the winter. Whether you put a cover over it or something so simple as just lay a piece of plywood over top. This way, when icicles fall from your roof, they're less likely to damage it. And nothing could be worse for the innards of an air conditioner than to have a bunch of water get in there and refreeze. It can do a lot of damage. Window units, pulling them out and closing the window will save you a lot of heat.
Back to the when you were talking about the AC unit, for us real estate agents, if the ice is falling off the roof and smashed and put dents in it, makes the air conditioner look a lot older, devalues the value of your home. So yeah, I like those ideas for sure. The other thing that we were talking about earlier and is one tip that I would give right now is anybody who has a little bit of moss or staining on the roof of their house, which I had. I went over to Weldon Hardware and they recommended a product that is this spray and forget, and you just use it on a hose and you spray it on your roof and basically it yellows it up, and basically after a good storms or some rainwater it washes it off and my roof looks really good. So that's another tip that you could be doing right now, especially now that it's not so hot. You could be up near the roof of your house and spraying that on. And that could get rid of the moss, the mold, the mildew, or the algae that you might have on there. So that's one of my tips.
and you gave us another tip. You told us that you could have copper on the top of the roof.
Yeah, some people will use zinc, but copper always works better. Along the top ridge of the roof, if you put a strip of copper up there, what will end up happening is copper ions, as the copper degrades, copper ions will end up on the roof. And copper is not conducive to the growth of moss, mold, mildew, and algae. So you should see a lot less of the growth on the roof. Another thing, if you look at a roof where they have a chimney with copper flashing on the north side or the west side of a house, if the rest of the roof has moss, mold, mildew, or algae on it, look under the chimney. Oftentimes a chimney with a copper flashing has a very clean roof right below it.
I think that's true at my house.
Okay. And you also gave us a tip on firewood.
Oh, yeah, I walk around houses all the time. I see piles of firewood. People want to be prepared for the winter, have some firewood around. No cover on them. So it's like taking a soggy newspaper and lighting it. It may light up, but it's going to be smoky, and it's not going to give you a lot of heat. It's going to give you a poor flame as well. So a simple thing would be to cover it, whether you put a piece of wood over the firewood pile or a simple tarp.
Okay.
Great.
Good. And you also told us that we should procure some items before winter.
It's always a good idea to have some sand around, get it in buckets, and put it indoors. Because if you have a pile of sand out in your yard and you want to sand off or put sand on your driveway, you're not going to get that shovel into the pile of sand. It's all going to be freezing up on you. It's going to be like driving a shovel into a pile of, or into a block of ice. So that's one thing. Having calcium chloride on hand is a real good idea. Calcium chloride is one of the best ice melts you can get. I like the pellets. The pellets have a tendency to bore right into the ice and make it disappear quickly. Salt's okay, but calcium chloride is a whole lot better. And in addition, you might want to have a roof rake. It wouldn't even be a bad idea to have a second roof rake, especially if your roof rake won't reach the peak of the roof. You can get a second roof rake and use the handles, and now you got a spare unit in case you break the one you have.
Is a snow rake the same as a roof rake?
Roof rake, snow rake, same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, when I've tried to do the roof on mine, I can't reach the top. I never thought about having a second one with the extensions so that I could. And you did say that just getting the first 3 or 4 feet off the roof isn't enough because the ice dam would just move further up the roof.
That is correct. A lot of people think they can just clear the first 3 feet, but if you have extended periods of cold, what will happen is the snow will continue to melt off the upper sections of the roof, and it will refreeze when it becomes exposed to the atmosphere. The snow works as its own insulator oftentimes too. So on the upper parts of the roof, you don't tend to see the ice dams happening, but you clear the first 3 or 6 feet off the roof, your ice dam is going to start happening higher up the roof. And there's a lot more stuff to damage in your house further up the roof than there is along the edge.
Yeah.
Okay. On to another one of your services. You offer driveway sealing. Can you tell us about that and why this might be a good time to do it before winter hits?
Sure. Your driveway needs protection. Your driveway is made of sand, stone, and liquid asphalt. And anyway, the people that make the asphalt used to, when they would crack oil, they used to basically get about 15 gallons of liquid asphalt out of a barrel of oil. Now I'm understanding they're getting about 1.5 gallons. They're pulling a lot more flexible polymers out of the pavement, or out of the asphalt when they make it. So what ends up happening is your driveway material is not as flexible as it was maybe 40 or 50 years ago. So when the driveway is paved, you want to get some sealer on it rather quickly. Always let it go through a winter. Let it get some hardening. Think of your driveway as a cookie coming out of the oven. When the cookie comes out of the oven, it's quite flexible. It's got a lot of the oils in it. You can bend it with the spatula to a 90-degree angle and then lay it flat on the plate, and the surface looks untarnished. But try doing that with the cookie 2 days later when it tends to crack and it becomes brittle. So on a driveway, what you have is you have pavement that's quite flexible when it's first put down. And as the sun starts evaporating out the liquid asphalt, your driveway ends up becoming more brittle and harder. And then as it heaves over the winter, it will have a tendency to crack.
Okay. You know, how long does a driveway sealing last after you?
Well, I like to see people seal the driveway daily. That would help me live a lavish lifestyle. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. The recommendation, people typically go every 2 to 4 years.
Okay.
Now, my neighbor recently had their driveway installed. Well, not recently, maybe 2 years ago, but now I saw they had it sealed. So that's not uncommon to do it there.
You go through a winter. If you can't, you could also go through 2 winters if you want, but you're starting to push it beyond that. You really should get it sealed sooner as opposed to later.
Okay.
The other thing that you were talking about too is temperature-wise. If you were thinking about having your driveway sealed this fall, be better sooner than later from a temperature standpoint.
Oh, without a doubt, yes. If you seal a driveway in November, the likelihood of getting a long-lasting seal is a lot less than it is if you do it in, we'll pick June 1st or June 21st, because on June 21st it has the whole summer to set up and cure.
Mm-hmm.
So sooner is better than later, especially now.
Okay. So another service you offer is gutter cleaning and installation. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. In the fall, it's always a good idea when the leaves come off the trees to get your gutters cleaned before you clean up your lawn. Think of it top to bottom. If you start at the top, you drop everything from your gutters down onto the ground. Now it's time to clean up the stuff below. If you do it in reverse, you're going to have to bag everything that comes out of the gutters, and it gets a whole lot more expensive. Either that or you'll have to have somebody come back and do one more final cleanup. So right before your final lawn cleanup is when you should clean the gutters.
Okay. And you install as well.
That is correct. We install seamless gutters, so we actually cut them to length. It comes off a big roll, goes through a roll forming machine, comes out the other side as gutter, and we clip the ends and put end caps on, downspouts on, and then we have one piece, one end to the other. No seams, no leaks.
As a matter of disclosure, I guess, is you installed the gutters on my house probably about 10 years ago. I do my own cleaning, but I remember we also had a choice of several colors. And in fact, that held up the process of us actually deciding on having the work done because we had to decide what color the gutters were to be.
We have like 30 colors, or even more than 30 colors available. We go with stock colors. Most people choose, believe it or not, 70% of all gutters are white. About 15 to 20% are brown. And the remaining 10% is all the other colors out there. And if you need parts, you can always call us. If you have odd color gutters, we may have the parts in stock. Unless your painter painted them a custom color, then you want to just pick up some paint. Aluminum is very, very paintable, by the way.
That's a question I was going to ask
you.
you.
An aluminum gutter is a lot more paintable than a wooden gutter even. The paint will tend to last longer on aluminum.
And you have some items here to show us pertaining to gutters.
Yeah, there are a lot of gutter covers out there. And what I tell people is if you're dealing with gutter covers, it's important to know that no product is perfect. If it keeps leaves and small debris out of your gutter, it's going to allow a certain amount of water to deflect from going into the gutter. So this is one of the finer screen gutters, and what it is it's a coarse screen on the outside, yet on the on the inside, but on the outside it's got a very fine screen. They call this surgical steel, and this is pretty popular right now. However, when the salesman shows you how this product works, he'll put it under your sink or your garden hose, and he aims it at a 90-degree angle, and it appears to catch every bit of the water. But what they aren't very realistic about this, when water hits a gutter from a roof, it comes in at an angle, and there's always a bounce factor when you get a high velocity of water. So the water can come in and it will hit, and a certain percentage of it will bounce off the gutter. But this is one of the finer screens. There are some additional less fine screens like this. This one's called Holy Moly, and it's got lots of little holes in it. But nothing is an absolute cure-all for not having to clean gutters. Some of them are darker colors so that you don't have to, they're less visible on the roof. They look a little bit more appealing to the eye. And some of them are finer and some of them are coarser screens. The finer the screen, the less debris will get into the gutter. Unfortunately, more stuff will bounce off of it as far as water goes.
Could you put the screens on a gutter that already exists that you haven't personally installed?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's no reason to buy new gutters if the screens will, if your gutters are in good shape. There's no reason to spend money buying new gutters. There are also the hooded gutter covers. And what a lot of people don't realize with the hooded gutter covers is they also have a danger factor that's involved with them. The hooded covers do not have any ice stops on them. So you get a giant block of ice on the edge of your roof, and as things start melting, those chunks of ice will fall off. And I watched a customer's house. I went into a customer's family room once, and it looked like little diamonds all over his furniture. I said, "What is that?" And he said, "Look up." And I looked up, and the skylight had broken because he had a product called gutter helmet on his gutters. And when the ice started melting, a big chunk of ice, at least as heavy as 3 bowling balls, basically fell from his upper roof onto the skylight on his lower roof, smashed right through, and landed all over his sofa. So anyway, if somebody was sitting in that living room at the time, the situation might have been deadly.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Another service you offer is power washing both the roof and the siding, and Ed had showed us that particular product that he used. As far as doing the siding, is this a good time?
Yeah, if you power wash at this time of the year, bear in mind that there's not a lot of pollen in the air in a few more weeks. There won't be much pollen. There won't be much of anything in the air. So where in the summer months you have pollen, you have a lot of dust being blown around, people are running leaf blowers, and you get a lot of dirt on your house that time of the year. So if you choose the fall to clean your house, the cleaning will typically last a lot longer. One thing about power washing on a roof, a lot of people think that the power washer's supposed to be doing all the work. The chemical is the better way to go. So you let the chemical do the work, and that's what we do. When we power wash a roof, we're just introducing a lot of water to rinse it off, but we don't get aggressive with the power washer. We like to let the chemical do the work because that way you don't damage the roof.
How much damage does it really do? Does it put a lot of wear on the roof?
If you do it properly, not much more than a heavy rainstorm. Mm-hmm. But there are a lot of companies out there that don't want to spend the money on the chemicals, and they get very aggressive on the roof shingles. And you could do 5 or 10 years worth of wear and tear on a single cleaning if you have the wrong people doing it.
Oh, wow, okay.
When you're doing the side of a house, when you're power washing, is there a chemical you introduce to doing that too?
Yes. Basically, we come up with a concoction of chemicals, but the key thing is using a bleach. Sodium hypochlorite is basically what you want to put on, which is a bleach. And sometimes it's a good idea to mix a little simple green in. A drop or two of Dawn dishwashing detergent will actually minimize the amount of streaking on your windows. So there are a lot of tricks. So if you're thinking of a do-it-yourself job, I can save you some money and tell you that basically get those chemicals and maybe a detergent as well, and you should be able to power wash your own house. You can take a garden or a pup sprayer for basically spraying fruit trees, and put your concoction in there and basically spray it on the house. If you're going to do it yourself, another good idea would be to rinse down all your plant life around the house first. You want the leaves to be damp before you spray your chemicals. Otherwise, you could kill your plants. So then you spray the house, wait about 10 or 15 minutes till the chemicals activate, rinse them off, and once again, rinse off your plant life. You don't want to damage your plants.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Another topic that you've talked about for services, you do snow plowing. I guess this is probably the time for people to start making arrangements to have their driveways plowed for the winter.
Yeah, I get so many calls the night before the storm, and they ask me, can you come out and give me an estimate? Well, usually we're in a hurry to get our equipment all gathered together because I found that snowplows never break in July. It's always in November, December. That's when you always have the damages. So basically what I do is the night of the storm, I'm usually prepping my equipment, don't have time to drive out and look at everybody's driveway. Mm-hmm. So call way ahead of time. Get your plow stakes in on your driveway. If you think there's a chance you might hire somebody, put stakes along the driveway. We have no clue where your driveway is, so you should mark it off. Otherwise, you may have your driveway extended by somebody, and sprinkler heads can be damaged. So if you have sprinkler heads along the edge of your driveway, mark them off with stakes.
Should the stakes go at the very end of the asphalt or slightly beyond?
We used to advise when we did wooden stakes, we would tell people go 6 inches off the edge of the driveway. Mm-hmm. There weren't so many sprinklers out back then.
Right.
But what I tell people, and once again, this is the time to buy these items because the night before the storm, you're not going to find them in Home Depot or your hardware store. Mm-hmm. So basically, buy the fiberglass stakes that are about 3 to 4 feet long, and they're about the thickness of a pencil. If you find yourself near the winter, the ground is already frozen, and you need to put those stakes in, simple trick is take a cordless drill and walk around and just drill a hole about the size of the stake and shove the stake into the ground, 3 inches deep or so, and those stakes you can put right on the edge of the driveway because they'll flex back and forth if the plow hits it or the snow falls on it.
That's a good idea.
Right.
I'm full of good ideas.
Well, it makes your job easier probably, so that when you get to the driveway, you know where to back up and move around.
Oh yeah, it's a blanket of snow. You get a big heavy storm and we're clueless. As a matter of fact, we'll ask the customers, where is your driveway? And sometimes the customer will say, well, I think it's over that way a little to the left. And they think, but they don't know.
I've lived in my house 23 years, and I snow blow my driveway myself, but if you go out and look at my house, I'm half off the driveway usually the first time through till I really get my bearings.
Yep. That's another point there, snowblowers. Mm-hmm. Okay, now is the time to get your snowblower serviced because a lot of people wait until it's right a day or two before the storm, and now your machine's going to be taken in, and you won't have it for that first or second storm.
You have your fingers crossed that it'll start, that you have fuel and all that. Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, and also it's not a bad idea to make a deal with a neighbor. So, because the snowblowers do break down a lot. So you get together with 2 or 3 of your neighbors and say, hey, listen, if mine breaks, you use mine, I'll use yours, that kind of thing, and we'll all have each other's back. And that's a real good idea.
Another service you offer is junk removal and dumpster services.
That is correct. A lot of people call us, they want to clean out the house, and we bring out a dumpster. It's 9 feet long, 6.5 feet tall, 6.5 feet wide, and they pack it up with debris, and we have a price we charge including the first ton, and then it's $325 including the first ton, and then any additional tonnage is charged based on the amount of weight. There are items that if you put them in a dumpster, you will pay extra for. Box springs and mattresses. By the way, if you're buying a new bed and they offer to take away the old bed,
do it.
Take advantage of it because you'll pay $15 to $25 just to get rid of each piece. So a king size bed is 3 pieces. You could pay $75 to get rid of the components of a king bed. And so if somebody's willing to take it, take advantage of it. Why would you want to pay me to take away something that you could get taken away for nothing? So the other thing is you will pay extra for air conditioners. Anything with Freon in it, refrigerator, freezer, dehumidifier, or air conditioner. Old tires you have to pay to get rid of. Truck tires are more expensive than car tires. And any hazardous materials you have to pay extra for as well. Right now, TV monitors we can still get rid of, but it won't be long before people have to pay a premium for them too.
When question, in fact, I was telling somebody that that's what you did just this morning, and they were asking how long, like if you order in a dumpster, how long typically you get to keep it till.
Well, we usually bring it out within a day or two, sometimes the day of the call, and 7 days is the turnaround time. But we do offer to extend it if somebody needs it longer.
Okay.
We make arrangements with the customer. Some customers need it for months at a time.
And even in the dead of winter, you bring them out?
Oh, yes, we do. Our trucks are four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
So we can deliver a dumpster and put it in that little corner. Our dumpsters, by the way, are very tall. And the reason we got the tall ones, they take less space on your driveway. A lot of people have longer dumpsters and they take less, or they take more space, but unfortunately they gather more snow and more rain, so that could be more costly to the customer. And obviously a long dumpster, you can only go in a few places on a driveway.
Right, for
a
sure.
short dumpster, which is tall, has the same volume of a longer dumpster, but can be located in little isolated corners.
Great.
Okay. What about very large cumbersome items like hot tubs and oil tanks? Do you do that?
We do that too, yeah. Sometimes somebody will switch over to natural gas, which, by the way, is a whole lot cheaper than oil. That's not a bad idea also. Talking about getting ready for winter, call up the gas company and see if you have a gas line on your street. So many streets in Simsbury are on the gas line, and people don't even know they have a gas pipe in front of their house. And if you could switch over to natural gas, you'll cut your heating costs probably half or less. So it's a great idea. Also, you don't have to shovel your driveway and shovel a path to the gas filler cap, because there isn't one. It's
Right.
coming in through a pipeline.
Right.
But definitely, when you're, well, back to what we were initially saying was, if you have large items, like an oil tank in your basement, we can cut it up and remove it. Sometimes it's in a closet and nobody thinks they can, or people don't think they can get it out easily. Well, we can cut it into small pieces and remove it. Hot tubs in a backyard, there's so many of them out there that people don't know what to do with them, and we can cut them up and get rid of them for people. And there's other large swing sets and stuff like that. Even heavy items, we have a hook lift on our truck we can lift them with.
Okay. Wow. You know, this has been really insightful, and I'm sure a lot of people will take advantage of this show and, you know, learning about all the different things and using you for your services as well. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And I hope you can come again in the spring and we could talk about things that homeowners could do in the spring. So thank you very much for joining us for Real Estate Today, and we'll see you next time.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.